All right, then. That's the government's view of the numbers. Let's see what the opposition critics have to say. And with that, we welcome from Queen's Park, Sandy Shaw. She's the NDP finance critic and the MPP for Hamilton West, Ancaster, Dundas. In the downtown of the capital city, there's Mitzi Hunter, the Liberal finance critic and the MPP for Scarborough-Guildwood. And also at Queen's Park, Mike Schreiner. He's the leader of the Green Party and the MPP for Guelph. Delighted to welcome you three onto our program tonight. Kind of wish we were all in the studio together as we did a year ago at this time, but such is COVID-19. Can I just start by saying, we'll go to the official opposition first. Okay, you saw what the finance minister had to say. Let me just offer you the opportunity to pluck something out of that interview and comment on it. Go ahead, Sandy Shaw.
Well, I think what we should really be looking at, that this is really actually an underwhelming budget. If you strip out the contingency funds, which are massive, if you strip out the funding from the federal government, if you take out the one-time funding that they're putting in there, one-time programs, it really doesn't get to the core of what I'm hearing in my constituencies, that people need help now. They need help now. We have hospitals that were overwhelmed with hallway medicine before. They're overwhelmed now. Small businesses are closing up in our hometown of Hamilton as we speak. And, long-term care continues to be a real concern for people. And so, I would say that this is a budget that just tells people you're essentially on your own. I mean, this is not a government that really, really is going to take this sense of urgency that I'm hearing in the community serious and put it into the budget.
Mitzi Hunter, how about you?
I want to pick up where Sandy left off in terms of the lack of urgency in this budget, and really the need to, the government puts on a headline to protect people, but yet refuses to act in the area that received, the hardest hit when it comes to long-term care. And I think that that's a betrayal to those parents and grandparents who really suffered under that system. I have a gentleman, Mr. McVitie, who lost both his mother and his father to COVID-19 in long-term care. And to say, what the minister just said, that, we announced this program, but we have no details behind it. We have no funding. We have no plan, is a disappointment and a betrayal to those individuals that were really looking for a solution. We really wanted to see a more hopeful budget, a budget that actually offered bold solutions to the size of the problem that we have with COVID-19. And today's budget was a disappointment because it didn't come anywhere near close to that. And in fact, people should start getting worried about Christmas. You're not going to be able to gather with your families because we just don't have the plan in place to keep people safe. Mike
Schreiner, your turn.
Yeah, Steve, the finance minister said the decisions governments make are life and death at times. And that's why I'm concerned that there are some significant gaps in this budget. And one of the biggest ones is the unfunded promise of 4 hours of care for our elders in long-term care. Quebec and BC were hiring additional staff to provide additional care over the summer. Why is Ontario so far behind? And why is it promised in the budget but not funded in the budget? The other one for me is mental health. Mental health advocates are saying, hey, just give us the $380 million a year you promised with your $3.8 billion 10-year plan. They come about $200 million short of that. We're going into a dark winter. We're in the second wave of the pandemic. We know mental health is a huge issue. People need those services now, not 4 or 5 years down the road. And the final one is education. We know that Sick Kids said that we need class sizes of 15, and the fact that the budget doesn't contain the funding to have safe class sizes is a big disappointment and a huge gap.
Let me follow up on that with Sandy Shaw, because your leader, Andrea Horwath, came out today and said that as well, that the money should have been expended so that we don't have 30 kids in a class anymore. It should only be 15. And presumably that would cost multiple billions of dollars to achieve that. Now, I know borrowing money is cheap these days, that is for sure, but do you think the province could afford to do that?
Well, I think if we start with the fact that we now have data that shows that some of, the vast majority of COVID cases are starting to come from our schools, that would make it a priority that you would want to understand that we need to have a safer classrooms. And, if kids are not safe in school, parents are getting sick, if they are not going to work because they want to take their kids out of school, that has not only a health impact, but it certainly has an economic impact. And so, we've been arguing for months and months and months that this government really dropped the ball on a safe return to school in September, and that it is about keeping our kids safe and our teachers safe, our education workers, but it's about the impact that the ripple effect that has on people having confidence in our economy and confidence in the kind of return to the growth that we expect for when we come back from this pandemic.
Now, Mitzi Hunter, the thing I want to follow up with you is, your leader said it earlier today, Stephen Del Duca, in the budget lockup, and you repeated it twice, actually, I think, during your first answer, and that is the use of the word betrayal in describing this budget. And, I'm prepared to plead guilty to being a little extra sensitive to hot and heavy rhetoric, given what's going on south of the border right now. But I do want to find out from you whether you really think the word betrayal is an appropriate word to use for a financial document.
It's betrayal, Steve, because when you look at the fact that, this government is packing students and kids into crowded classrooms, putting teachers and educators at risk for their own health and the risk of their families, that is a betrayal. This, despite the fact that the federal government has given this government $381 million for a safe return to school and another tranche coming, over $700 million. Yet within the budget and the structure of education, we don't see the new investment that's required to fund a safe return to school, which means you hire more teachers, that you ensure there's social distancing and safety in schools, and that just has not happened. So yes, it is a betrayal because, governments are there to solve the big, difficult decisions that individuals themselves can't solve. And the biggest one is in education and on healthcare. And they have fallen well short of that.
Mike Schreiner, the thing I want to follow up with you on is what was, frankly, your profession before you got into politics. You were a small business person, and this government thinks it's got a good story to tell in this budget on small business, a variety of new things brought in. What say you on that?
Well, first of all, small businesses have been asking for direct financial supports. The government promised $300 million. Small businesses are asking for broader access to that support, particularly for those businesses who have been forced to shut down again or restrict their businesses in the modified stage 2. And the government's got to come through on that. Basically, if we're going to have economic recovery, we need small businesses to be in a position to recover. They need more direct support and they need access to that funding. You know what? I'm going to do something a lot of opposition critics won't do, Steve, and I'm going to compliment the government on one thing. The increase in the employer health tax exemption to $1 million is something I've been calling for a decade. That is going to be a huge cash flow help to small businesses. I would like to see the government at some point in the future work with small businesses to see an increase in the minimum wage while they're providing that cash flow support to those small businesses to help workers on the front lines, particularly those who have been hardest hit in the hospitality sector.
Well, since you've set the example, let me see if I can do that with your two colleagues here as well. Sandy Shaw, pluck one thing out of this budget you thought was okay.
Wow. Well, I would say that I think, wow, I'm struggling. How is that? I'm so good at my opposition role. I'm having a hard time understanding it. I suppose I would say that the acknowledgement that we need to hire more workers in long-term care, the acknowledgement that is at a crisis level, but the fact that they haven't put any money to it is a complete disappointment. And so it really is hard to look at this budget and say, for people that have been saying over and over again that they need direct help. Mitzi and Mike, we participated in the finance committee, and we had 100+ days, 500 deputants, 130 written submissions, and almost every single person that was there to talk about their small business said we need direct supports, immediate supports. And the government has offered deferred taxes, and even the employer health tax. That's a cold comfort if you've actually closed your doors, or that if you aren't able to keep people employed and you don't have employees. So they need the support now to keep the doors open, and it just completely gobsmacked by a conservative government that talks about small business and completely failed with the opportunity they had right now to show that they actually understand the importance of small business and to give them concrete support that they need to keep their doors open and to keep people employed in towns across Ontario.
Mitzi Hunter, one thing from you that you thought was okay in this budget.
So we participated in the Standing Committee on Finance and Economic Affairs and provided over 71 recommendations to the government. And some of them made it into this budget. When you look at the film and television tax credit, the digital media fund, even the staycation idea of, encouraging Ontarians to actually explore Ontario and giving them a credit for that. There are a number of ideas that we had put forward, and we see them in this budget, and that is encouraging because ideas can come from any side, and if the government wants to take those and make lives better, then go forward and do that. But I totally agree with the comments of my other colleagues on this panel that it doesn't go far enough in terms of the liquidity that small businesses were calling for to help them to survive another day. Many of them barely made it through the first wave. They might have had a little bit of a bump with the reopening that happened in the summer, but they are completely unable to survive a second wave shutdown and a winter that is ahead. And this budget should have been much stronger on its commitment and its direct investment to help Ontario businesses, because the recovery is going to depend on those small businesses hiring people and keeping the economy going. And if we lose them and they disappear, we're not going to be able to bring them back.
Mike Schreiner, I can't imagine the folks over at the Frost Block, where the Ministry of Finance is, saying, well, wait a second, we are spending a record amount of money in the province of Ontario in this budget. We are going into deficit with a record sizable deficit as well. I mean, we're kind of, we're damming the torpedoes here and really going full throttle. And yet we hear three critics saying that they haven't spent nearly enough. Any lack of or any discomfort on your part urging the government to spend so much more than they already have?
Steve, right now we're in an unprecedented health crisis and economic crisis. The only way we're going to get out of it is to make the kinds of investments, one, to control the virus. What's good for public health is going to be good for the economy. And then secondly, we have to make the investments to have a strong economic recovery. If you look at the three scenarios the government put out, the one that if we hit, which shows economic growth, that's the one that will actually ultimately lead to lower deficits. But if we don't make the investments now, we're not going to get there. And I can tell you, as a small business owner, it's very common for businesses to borrow money or access a line of credit to make investments that they know are going to have a high rate of return on that investment. And right now is the time for Ontario to do that. Get this virus under control. Support those small businesses that have been forced to shut down, and then make sure we invest in building back smarter, which is exactly why I've been calling for a green and caring economic recovery for Ontario, so that we invest in the emerging markets and create the jobs of the 21st century coming out of COVID.
Don't you imagine, though, Sandy Shaw, that those medium and larger businesses in Hamilton will really appreciate the 14, 15, 16% break they're about to get in their electricity rates?
Well, they may appreciate it. It really is important that we have a competitive hydro rate, but it needs to be pointed out that this government, who promised to fix the hydro mess, has really just made it messier, in my opinion. And they are subsidizing hydro rates to the tune of about $6 billion a year. So take that out of the spending that you think is going to COVID relief. It's supporting the hydro. And, there's nothing in here for residents. I mean, I hear from my residents all the time, and it's so true. They're struggling to pay their bills. They're struggling to pay their rent. And now their hydro bills are going up. And so they get to pay for hydro twice. They get to pay for it now on their tax base, and then they get to pay it on their increases in their hydro bills. So while we need to have a competitive hydro, this government has done nothing to address the real fundamental problem that we have in hydro and hydro rates in Ontario.
I do want to ask Mitzi Hunter about that, though, because you're a former junior finance minister, and you would have well recognized when you had that role how important it is to have competitive electricity prices in the province. The Ford government now believes that it's made our electricity rates for big and medium-sized businesses much more competitive, allowing them to be more profitable and hire more people. Is that not a good move?
Well, let's see how that pans out. It is a costly move, that is for sure, moving costs off of the rate base onto the tax base. And $6 billion is a lot of funding that could be going into hospitals and education and into retraining that is going to be needed for those businesses to have the skilled workforce that they need. So I do think it's important that government picks the lane that it wants to be in to support citizens and to support our economy. This government clearly has done that by focusing on making hydro rates lower, but there is a cost and someone's paying for that, and those are Ontario's taxpayers.
Yeah, Mike Schreiner, I guess I'll give the last word to you on this. We're down to our last minute here, and that is also on this electricity pricing business here. You've had a lot to say about that as the leader of the Green Party in the past. Everybody wants to pay less for electricity, but what do you think of their approach?
Well, I don't mind giving a break to businesses during a pandemic. But Steve, the biggest problem we're facing right now is much of that $6 billion subsidy is actually benefiting high-income individuals the most through the Liberals' old 25% reduction on electricity bills. Why not cap that so we help the households that need it the most and use that extra money to invest in helping small businesses, homeowners, and renters be able to have energy efficient upgrades so they can lower their bills today, tomorrow, next week, and 10 years into the future by having more energy efficient homes, saving money by saving energy.
We appreciate the three critics of the three main parties at Queen's Park, at least the three main opposition parties, continuing to share their budget night with us, even if only virtually. Sandy Shaw, Mitzi Hunter, Mike Schreiner, great of you to join us on TVO tonight. And as we say, my dad loves to say this, stay positive, but test negative. Okay, everybody?
You stay positive and test negative too, Steve.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schreiner. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.